Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of Survivor Social, the Survivor podcast where we discuss Survivor with a focus on the social elements of the game. My name is Cara and my usual co-host Tegwyth could not be here today, but no worries because I have an awesome co-host here with me today. You might recognize him from Got Something For Ya. Ollie is joining us today. Ollie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, a late night for me, but I'm very much excited to talk about like this last episode of Survivor. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was a crazy episode. I feel like they just keep getting better every time.
I was gonna say, yeah, like it's just been getting crazier and crazier, like as the season like progressed. Like we heard, like I know some people were kind of like on the fence about it at the start. And I heard so many people, like so many of the castaways were like, just you wait, guys, just you wait. And now I understand why. I'm like, yeah, you guys are cracked.
Yeah, they are such an interesting group of people. How are you feeling overall about the season?
Do you know what? Overall, I am enjoying the season. Like I was one of those people. I was like, do you know what? It's a slow start, but I've seen that happen in other seasons. So I'm pretty much optimistic about the season. I'm enjoying it so far. Every now and then there are things that I'm like, but overall, that's the same though with all of it. So yeah, either way, I'm enjoying it. How about you though?
I'm really liking it. I think like the cast, the dynamic of them all is just so interesting. It's so funny how like they all just kind of hate each other. I think that's so funny. And there's just so much drama. I love the drama.
I was going to say this is a dramatic season, and to me, I feel like we've constantly always talked about this. It harkens back to an old school vibe.
Yeah,
it is very much an old school vibe. We're getting the villains, we're getting the drama, which I'm always here for. I do love a bit of mess, so I can't be sad about that.
No, I'm loving the villains and all of that, especially because prior to this, Jeff said no villains, and this whole season is just like villains.
Literally, pre-season, he was like, yeah, we're not really going to bring back villains. Like, we don't really need villains. And then it's like, you have Hugh, Venus, Liz, Kenzie, like...
all the villains.
All the villains.
So I want to talk about our preseason predictions. So this is a big week for you. You lost a player.
Oh, I did. I mean, do you know what? I am sad about it, like truly. But there was a moment I saw it coming. And we'll talk about that later, I think. But yeah, there was definitely a moment I saw it coming, and I was really sad to see Tiffany go. Just because I think loads of people like had Tiffany in like their winner contention. So sorry, Tegwyth. But I feel like she did a really good job, and I feel like she not only showed how much of a good player she is, but how amazing of a character she is. And I feel like she had a really good balance. So regardless, I'm happy, and I'm still in the lead for 1 week, so I'm not going to won't be for long, but 1 week.
Well, you never know. Kenzie might just pop off and just slay the rest of the way, and you might just stay in first.
Do you know what? I could see that happening. Like when it comes, obviously we're on Survivor Social, so when we look at the social side of things, I think Kenzie is doing a phenomenal job. Regardless of like the outcome of this week, I still think she's in such a good spot.
Yeah, so I almost think what happened this week was kind of benefited her too, not being on that vote. I think that was great for her.
Yeah, like it did benefit her, but at the same time, I think I can understand why she will be frustrated.
Yeah.
But I think in the grand scheme of things, if it was her that did that, I think I could see Tiffany being a bit more upset with her. But now kind of she has this thing of the move happened. I can still sit there and say I wanted it to happen, and I can give the receipts that people can confirm that that I was happy to go against Tiffany. I didn't have to get my hands dirty though, and I could use that against someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So, okay, before we jump into everything, just make sure you're liking and subscribing the Survivor Now YouTube page on Spotify. Follow us everywhere. And as a reminder, we are live right now, and we will get into questions that you send in towards the end of the episode. So if you think of anything, just send them our way in the live chat, and we will read your comments and questions as they come in.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into the episode and all of that.
I mean, when I think about this episode, I feel like the first thing we have to talk about is the Liz explosion, the Liz meltdown.
Yeah.
How were you feeling about that when it kind of first started? Because
Oh my God.
it came out of nowhere.
We knew something was happening with Liz going into this episode, but what it was about and how it all happened, I feel like was so unexpected.
Oh my God, so unexpected.
And what were the odds that she had such a personal connection to Applebee's?
Yeah.
Do you think this was planned? Did they know?
Well, I don't know, because I mean, again, I'm British, so Applebee's is funny enough foreign to me. Sadly, we don't have that here. Similar to the fact that we don't have IHOP, and we know what IHOP stands for. Sorry, that's a little segue. But they've done it before. They've had Applebee's, I think it was Island of the Idols, wasn't it? I think it was Island of the Idols that they had the last kind of Applebee's thing. Also, were you happy that they made it that the reward was Applebee's and not the Sanctuary?
I liked the reward. I liked that it was Applebee's. Yeah.
It wasn't so focused on Sanctuary where good things happen.
Which that was like a side thing.
Yeah, I was happy about
Applebee's
that.
was the main thing. Yeah.
But I mean, it was just this weird thing of like, it was so catered to Liz. And I guess like she must have mentioned it somewhere, but I guess with how it all goes down, they were always going to include it. It was just kind of how much of a reaction Liz had to it.
Yeah.
We kind of saw her human, like we saw the person rather than the player. So I guess my question is, when we saw that Q won and he didn't pick Liz, what was your reaction to that? And would you have picked Liz regardless of the situation?
I think I would have. I think I would have felt too. I mean, I guess it all depends on like the game and everything and whatnot, but I think like, she hasn't eaten in so long. And I feel like Q is in a position where he really doesn't have anyone. And okay, yes, Liz voted for him the day before, but I feel like this could have been an opportunity to get an ally, someone on your side. If he took her with him, I think she would have just been loyal to him. I think she would have been like, you did something for me. I am happy to work with you.
Yeah.
So I felt bad that she wasn't picked.
Yeah, I agree. I was really sad, like especially like that reaction. We have some people in the chat. Frank, I've heard past players submit their list for favorite meals in the event that they use for awards. And Nikki as well mentioning it 100% planned. I think I personally would have picked what's her name? Liz. Completely forgot. My bad. Yeah, I feel like I would have picked Liz just because of that absolute visceral reaction. And it's kind of like, I know that Randy and Abraham kind of talked about this yesterday. Like, Abraham was cold. Abraham was like, nah, I don't care. He was very much Q on this situation. I would have been Maria and Kenzie and been like, no, I will take you, because clearly this has some emotional thing. And again, socially, that would have made her feel like some kind of way towards me. Whereas Q was very open with his reasonings. He wants to sort out the beef with Tiffany. Maria's the only one that cared about him, in a sense. Sorry, and he wants to keep the Yanu three back together. If you were one of the people that weren't picked, would you have kind of been sat there being like looking at Q sideways? Because he kind of just revealed his entire strategy.
Yeah. I feel like Q is in such an interesting spot where he could just do anything and people are just not even gonna, like, they just hate him. So whatever he does, they're just gonna hate him even more. But it was also interesting because he did say all that, but I feel like we didn't see him try and do anything with them, unless I'm forgetting. But I don't remember like seeing any conversations of them planning anything. We just saw the three ladies talking.
Yeah, I mean, again, we only can see what the edit shows us.
Yeah.
But the fact that they kind of showed us Kenzie's reaction to be like, unhealthy boyfriend, no, just because you take me out does not mean that's getting anywhere. And kind of similar with Tiffany, like, it's like, yeah, thank you for this, but that doesn't like mend all this stuff that's happened. And I was kind of on the same page as like Kenzie, like shocking. I was sharing the same opinion with Kenzie. But I would have been the same. Like if someone had wronged me to that degree, no matter what, I always know that you've left me out of something, you can do it again. So I feel like as much as, because I don't see this as something that was a strength of Q socially. I feel like there was more strategic elements that came in rather than social. And I feel like I noticed it a lot this episode with Q. I really saw a lot of how much he really struggles socially, if that makes sense. Like even when he is trying to be intentional, there is a lot of social faux pas that I see. As opposed to someone like Kenzie or even Charlie, who have really been able to kind of do well socially. Do you agree?
Yeah, it isn't like, it's so interesting. I just think from the moment Q said like vote me out, everyone just hated him. Everyone was so mad at him, which I think is so funny because they were like, why are we going to vote you out? You're part of my plans. Like, I need you here to help me. But now no one wants anything to do with him. So like, why not just vote him out at that one? It's not like that's what I do. And he hasn't recovered socially at all.
No,
There's been no progress for him.
So regardless, I'm guessing he's not going to be your social butterfly at the end of this episode.
No.
But saying that, there is one person that is very, to me, is sticking her neck out for Q, and that is Maria. Because we saw at the start of the episode, she was the one that like went up to kind of Q, and everyone was like, where's Maria? And then we saw it again during pre-tribal where she went up to Q specifically, and it was almost this thing. Production did a really good job at everyone in one place, and then they pan or change the focus to Maria specifically going to Q. So can you see Maria's kind of like social logic in this? Like, do you think socially this was very good for Maria to do?
Yeah, I think so. I think like she is picking up that one number that no one else wants. I think it was so smart of her to do that. And in the end, it helped her get what she wanted done at Tribal. So I think it was great. And no one really, it didn't seem like anyone was like suspicious of it or anything like that. Like they're just like, oh, she's probably just like talking to him, whatever. Like they still just hate Q so much that I feel like anything that happens involving him, it's just is what it is. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I get that because so whenever I watch the episode, I very much watch it from the aspect of how would I react as a player in that situation. And I would very much kind of just be like, my hands would be wiped with Q. I would pretty much be Ben. Like Ben the confessional thug, and like every time that a jab can be made, that's who I would be. I would be Ben. Because so many of his little things, like he did it last episode and this episode, which I found hilarious.
It's so funny.
But yeah, I would have kind of just like my hands, like I kind of agree with you, my hands would be wiped. But I'd also kind of notice that I don't know, I would pick up those social cues, funny that, as Maria's now specifically gone to check on Q. Q has now won the reward challenge and taken Maria. So I'm kind of surprised how no one's kind of been like, oh, it's kind of clear Maria is trying to keep Q in. And I feel like with Tiffany going, I would be very shocked if kind of next episode, no one kind of goes, it's very clear she's trying to keep Q. Like, would you kind of would you look at that in that aspect now, knowing or thinking about that?
Yeah, I think after the vote, I think people are going to start thinking like, oh, like she's using Q as a number. She has him on her side now. So I think going into the next episode, I think Maria is in trouble.
Yeah.
And we've also seen everyone just get rid of their +1s. So why would Maria and Charlie be any different?
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, I think Maria did amazing this episode, kind of socially. Like, I feel like she was kind of the one that pushed a lot of conversations. But I think, unfortunately, with this particular scenario, it's how those are going to spill out later on that's going to affect her. Because again, I think getting the numbers is great, but I think I honestly think if next round she kind of goes back and gets rid of Q, I think she will be in a lot better spot. I think if she tries and still keeps Q in, it's really gonna screw her over socially.
Yeah.
Another moment I kind of want to mention. Well, I want to go back to Liz and her reaction afterwards, because you kind of did see everyone rally around her, and you kind of heard Charlie go, like, you were, what was it? You're a big spark, like in the best way. Venus was very much like on her side. Ben was like, no, like our anger is like fueling us now. So do you kind of think that with Liz doing that, it kind of opened the floor for everyone else to kind of like allow their emotions or feelings to be kind of validated in that sense?
Yeah, I think so. And it's like, I also saw like on Twitter and things how Kenzie and Maria tried to give up their spot and give it to Liz, and Q said no.
Yeah.
He was like, no, like I picked you three. I want you three to come with me. So, and they didn't show that. So I'm sure like that, seeing that happen, like being one of the people there, seeing that happen, I feel like that would just make you even more angry.
Yeah. I wish they showed that, because I feel like that would have added.
I was wondering why no one was being like, you know what, Liz, take my spot. I was surprised no one did that.
Well, you say that. I clocked when Liz was having her outburst, they panned to Kenzie, and Kenzie kind of had her finger up. And I think that was a kind of moment she was waiting. So if you look back, you see her kind of, she wants to say something and then she dips back. And I think I knew straight away, I was like, she's going to want to offer a spot. And then nothing happened and I didn't think anything of it. And then
that was probably it. Yeah.
Like, yeah. But who didn't was Tiffany. Tiffany was like,
she was like, I'm eating.
Yeah. So would you have given up your spot, or would you have been like, no, take my spot?
You know, I feel like if I was picked and someone was having that kind of reaction, I think I would have been like, take my spot. I think I would have.
I think it completely depends on how I was feeling at that time. But I know I am someone like, I can eat plain rice. Like, I have no issues with plain rice.
Yeah.
So I could sit there and be like, go, take my spot. I don't need this. I was like, no lie, I saw the burgers. I am very much a picky eater. Yeah. So when I saw like the melted cheese, and because I'm not a fan of cheese. Shocking. But I saw like the melted cheese, I saw like the mushrooms, I saw like the gherkins, and I was like,
yeah, I saw the mushrooms and I was like, I don't want the burger.
I'm good. Well, it doesn't look like anyone had the burger.
I can't believe no one even tried it. And then they told her that they didn't eat it. And
oh my God, that whole scene. I mean, we'll quickly talk about that now. That whole scene after people came back before the immunity challenge and they were all on that boat, and it was like, what was your favorite part? What was your favorite part? If I was Liz, I would have got up and gone away. I'd have been like, I would have sat there and been like, guys, sensitive subject. I'm taking myself out. But yeah,
I could not believe they were saying they didn't eat the burger. That they could have kept that to themselves. Yeah. They didn't need to say that.
Especially when they all knew that Liz wanted the burger.
That specific burger and everything. Come on.
And one of the finer details I liked was when we kind of saw one of the confessionals during this moment of Liz, it was a really, really old school style where she was stood up, like cameras in her face.
Yeah.
I just loved that. Like I saw that and I was like, oh my God, like old school Survivor.
That was so good.
It was good. But yeah, I think if I was Liz, I wouldn't have I would have just walked away. If I was Kenzie, Tiffany, Maria, or Q, well, Kenzie, Tiffany, or Maria, Q was gonna say whatever he wanted at that point. If I was one of them three, I would have been like, no, I had the burger, it was lovely. We all just agree we had the burger. It was delicious. I understand why you like it, Liz.
They were really rubbing salt in that wound.
They were rubbing salt into that ground beef, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But speaking of that moment as well, there was Liz kind of took it upon herself to making an apology to Q. And I kind of want to talk about this bit because it's both of their reactions. I had very strong feelings about how each one of them mentioned it. Liz was obviously like, look, it was a lie. Still screw Q. And I understood it. And I was like, I guess I feel like she did kind of at least try and mend the fence kind of from the outside, which I thought was good. But it was mainly Q's confessional I kind of want to just touch base on because I thought it kind of showed me why he was struggling so much socially. Because he kind of mentioned, apart from the like, your apologies aren't needed in Survivor, but it was when he was describing how he viewed the game and he was like, he took it from a business standpoint and he was like, I was just firing her. Like, if I saw someone else that I fired, I wouldn't care about them crying to death. And that's kind of one of the few moments this episode I clocked and I was like, if Q makes it to the end, I struggle to see him winning. Like, did you kind of see that moment and be like, oh, Q?
Yeah. I agree. I think if he makes it to the end, I don't think it's going to be easy for him to convince people to vote for him.
No, I think he's going to have a really tough time. I mean, especially since, you know, we got a confessional from Kenzie being like, she can't respect Q, like, especially like kind of like she went in. I mean, Ben in a confessional, I mean, called him a bit of a bully. And even like, I was like, I was like, oh my God, like it's gotten that far. Like, obviously, Tiffany is like, hands done. Venus over him, Liz. I was like, who's getting like Hunter? Maria if she gets on the jury?
I don't know if he like I think okay, final 3 of Q, Liz, and Venus. If that was a final 3, who would win? Who do you think would win that scenario?
I feel like this has become the question, hasn't it? Because everyone's seen it and been like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count Venus out. And here is why. Because she has the underdog story. And like, yes, everyone's like, well, you've got Soda, Tevin, and Hunter there. She was able to best them, regardless of whether the fact Tevin was Liz's plan, Soda was whoever's like Tevin's plan, Hunter was someone else's plan. They were still 3 people she wanted to target and get out. And she was able to get them out at that moment when she was such a big threat and then still make it far.
Yeah.
And then still be a part of quite a lot of the votes. Obviously, she wasn't in the votes this time. And we actually didn't get a confessional from her this episode, which is quite shocking. Like, no Venus content except for the deleted scene. Which, again, have you seen that deleted scene?
No, I didn't.
So,
I have to watch it.
You have to watch it. But I saw it and I was like, this would have been such a funny moment to have in like the show.
It seems like they keep doing that with the deleted scenes.
It's clearly they have so much like content for the 90 minutes episodes. Like, but yeah, I would say Venus personally. I think she has a strong enough case, and I think we've kind of seen with Liz her outburst. I feel like that might hurt her a bit in the like moving forward.
Yeah.
So possibly that could be like her defense thing. Plus, if she is this alleged billionaire that everyone keeps saying she is, people could sit there and be like, do you need the money? So that's what I kind of look at me like. Venus could pull something out. What about you? Who do you think?
I I was thinking the same thing about Liz, like her, potentially being a billionaire would make people not want to vote for her. But I feel like in that scenario, I could see Liz winning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that scenario of those three is like the best case for any of them to potentially win. But I feel like Liz would win if that is the three. I just feel like less people hate her. I don't know if anyone hates her, but I feel like the other two have a lot of people that don't like them. And she, she's doing things and she has such a strong edit now that I feel like it would make sense.
Yeah.
The editing is so interesting, and we haven't seen that many background like stories of people. And this time we did see one of Liz, which I thought was interesting. So, I mean, I guess we know why we saw it, but I feel like still we haven't seen that many this season.
No, I'm trying to think who we've seen. We've seen Liz. I know we've seen Q. I know we've seen Tevin. Maria we've seen. I think we've seen Charlie. I think maybe.
I feel like it's less this season than other ones, which is interesting.
It's definitely been a lot less. I'm trying to think now. Oh, we do actually have Nikki in the chat. She thinks this is who she thinks her final three would be: Maria, Charlie, and Kenzie. Now is that purely because you saw them three like on the boat at the early morning together? But
I wonder who would win in that scenario.
I think it would be between Charlie and Kenzie. And actually, this is a great segue because I actually wanted to get onto Charlie because right now we see Charlie and Maria very well. They're doing a really good job at playing the middle. And we saw it this episode. I mean, number one, Charlie's just won a back-to-back immunities. Well done. And we've kind of seen both of them, really play the middle very well and get everyone talking to them. But this is where we see, who do we think is like when it comes to them two, who would get more of the credit? Do you think it would be Charlie or Maria?
I kind of think it would be Maria. I feel like she's the one leading things and going up to people and getting people to vote the way that she wants. I can't remember a time where we've seen that from Charlie.
I would probably say like the soda vote when his like neck was on the line, obviously. But I would actually say Charlie. And because when I look at the scenario, I think because I think Charlie is doing a better job at jury management and pre-damage control. Because I think when you've seen a lot of what's happened, no one's really mad at Charlie. Like, no one's ever really like been upset with Charlie. And I think, again, looking at hypotheticals, what will happen next episode, I see more people upset with Maria than I do Charlie. I mean, I think the sneak peek had Charlie and Kenzie kind of chatting a bit. But I think the thing is, like, Charlie is able to still have have more one-on-one kind of social conversations. Like, last episode, we saw him do it with Kenzie. We saw him do it with Tiffany.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like and again, when we look at the edit and we look at the confessional account, he has had more than Maria in that sense. So that's kind of why I see it more as Charlie, because I feel like Charlie has a bit more charisma than Maria, where he can make it seem like, oh, I'm the better one of the two. And I think with Maria, even though I think she had a really good showing this episode, I feel like there's a lot more damage that she's going to have to sort out next episode, which I'm not sure whether she'll be able to. Whereas Charlie, I think, could.
And I think, that makes sense. I think Charlie's doing great. Like, and I feel like every time he should have been a threat and should have probably gone home, it was never even a thought for anyone to vote him out. And even now, he's won 2 immunities, and even the ones he didn't win, he was like close to winning.
Yeah, he was second in get a grip.
Yeah, so, and no one I feel like no one's talking about that. And I
Yeah.
feel like, and Maria, I feel like with this move and Tiffany and everything, might even overshadow Charlie being so good at the competitions and winning.
Yeah.
So.
And plus as well, like, because I think when we look at Charlie and Maria, I have these two distinctions. Maria can now kind of say, like, I was able to get the person that was saying my name out.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie has managed to convince someone who was originally targeting him, Venus, almost like you never hear Venus now mention Charlie. You almost see Venus and Charlie having more conversations and kind of being more clued in with each other. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that as well, like Charlie can kind of say that and be like, hey, yes, Maria was able to get her like person that was trying to go for her out. I was able to turn it, get Venus to trust me more so she wouldn't target me. And I was able to work with her and then get her out before she was able to get me out.
Yeah. He's really well positioned.
He is so well positioned. So I'm really intrigued to see what kind of happens moving forward, especially if, because I think with Q still being in the game, I feel like next round it's going to kind of, I think Charlie's going to be more in the middle than Maria. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what he does. Is he going to differentiate himself? There we go. It was a word longer than 8 letters. I was not sure.
I don't know. Yeah, he might try and get Maria out. And I don't think he would have a hard time getting people to get on board with that.
Yeah. And do you know what that would be? Spicy.
Yeah.
with Kenzie, who I kind of just want to touch base with because obviously this episode she went back on her word or went back on the thing of wanting to go for Tiffany. And I know we kind of talked about it briefly and she was left out of the vote. Do you think that's going to hurt her moving forward? I know we kind of slightly touched on it, but I kind of want to go more in depth.
No, I don't think her being left out of that vote is going to hurt her. I think if anything, it benefits her a little bit not being in on that vote, especially if she makes it to the end and she needs Tiffany's vote. I think Tiffany would be happy to vote for Kenzie knowing that she didn't vote her out. But if she did vote her out and she knows whatever, maybe she wouldn't be so inclined to vote for her. So, and also the target is now on Maria for getting out a big person where Kenzie is kind of in the clear now.
Yeah. And that's what Maria was like hoping that would happen to Kenzie. So that's going to be funny seeing the thing switched.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like she has a connection that no one's really clocking. And we didn't really see it happen this episode. We kind of saw it almost not work. And that is Benzie. Kind of Ben and Kenzie. Because I think last episode, we saw them a bit more have conversations. This episode, not so much. And we kind of saw, we saw Ben was kind of very much swayed to Maria and Charlie's agenda there, which did go against Kenzie. Are we still going to kind of see them two have that connection? Because I feel like that's something. I don't know. I feel like I just always keep an eye on it because I'm like, something's going to happen with Benzie. Benzie's like going to come out of nowhere.
No, it was interesting how like it did seem they were so close and they were like maybe number ones for each other. And then for him to not tell her that the vote was going Tiffany this week or this day, whatever, was interesting. And now he's keeping secrets.
Yeah. Is Benzie not as strong as we thought it was? Is this ship setting sail a bit too much?
I think they'll come back together.
I think I do think I think they'll come back together for their mutual dislike of Q.
Yeah, I think this is like circumstantial. Like he probably knew that Kenzie went back on not wanting to meet Tiffany, and he was like, I can't risk it. I just gotta.
Well, do you know what? That's actually an interesting thing because Charlie and Maria both kind of did not want to include Kenzie, even though Kenzie was sat there like had mentioned, and she was like, no, I want like beforehand. And I know she kind of said like, no, I really want to go for Q for these kind of like moral reasons. do you think they still could have gone to Kenzie and been like, is this something that we can persuade you on? Or do you think it was smart for them not to include Kenzie?
I don't know. I think it was smart to not include. I feel like it would have been risky to include her because she was going back on it, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they told her and she went to Tiffany and was like, use your idol.
I was about to say, do you think she would have gone back?
I kind of think so. I think she would have.
Do you know what the messiness in me? I would have. I'd have been like, yeah, of course, yeah, fabulous, Tiffany.
And then they just get Q out like she wanted, and then it would have worked out perfectly for Kenzie.
She could have known about the plan, got Ken. Alicia could have come out. Oh, it would have been so great. Well, I feel like we have to talk about Tiffany because I feel like she had been so strong. And I just feel like this episode, she got too comfortable. She did the golden rule of getting too comfortable. And it was a moment in the episode, I kind of talked about this. It was when it was her first confessional of the pre-tribal. And she said, I'm a betting woman. And I was like, no, don't make bets. Don't make bets. Was that the beginning of the end for you? Did you kind of see that and you were like, oh, I know what's coming?
Yeah, especially after Hunter going with I can't believe this is the third time this season someone has been voted out with the idol in pocket. I can't believe it. But yeah.
Do you know what we're going to see now? Sorry. Yeah. Season 47 and season 48. As soon as they get that idol, they're playing it because they're going to be like, I'm not wasting it. They're going to be like, no one's even voting for me. Play my idol.
I'm not understanding why they're not playing it because they already found one. I feel like it'd be easy for them to find another one. Just play it, especially Hunter. But
yeah,
we don't have to talk about Hunter. We'll talk about Tiffany. She should have still played hers, especially since she knew everyone knows that she has it. Like, why did she not think that was an issue? You know?
Yeah. I agree. I think if I was in Kenzie's situation, again, this is me sitting on my sofa, sitting in my bed, watching the episode, knowing that I'd already bluffed the idol one round, with this group of people, I don't think you can bluff it a second time. And I just think, unfortunately, because everyone was so much on this like against Q train, that she must have just felt that comfortable.
Yeah.
I guess it is a credit to everyone's social game at that point, but also, I don't know, it's weird. Like, she was so like gung-ho last round on, I need to get rid of this idol, and all of a sudden she's kind of wanting to see how far she can like get it. So it's weird. Nikki in the chat just said, Kenzie said to Tiff, by the way, Tiff, this is the perfect time to blindside you.
Yeah, that was a big moment. And, you know, even during Tribal, I was getting so mad at Jeff because I'm sure so many things happened that we didn't see, but I feel like he nonstop was talking about a blindside happening. Like, he was almost giving it away, telling Tiffany, play your idol. I was like, how many times are you going to, like, say it? I was like, she's going to play it because you're talking about it so much. I would be getting suspicious if I was sitting there and you're just keep talking about blindsides and Q is the easy vote and everyone's all together. I don't know. What did you think about that?
No, I completely agree because he actually he asked Tiffany twice, referencing blindside and Q being the smoke screen. I know that everyone else was doing like Emmy winning, I'm not going to say Oscar, but Emmy winning acting of like, no. So like, I still would have sat there and kind of thought to myself, looking at the track record, Tevin's been blindsided, Hunter's been blindsided. Who's to say they will not, like, this has been a season of blindsides. So clearly the possibility is there. No matter how much like Q has become like Voldemort in this tribe, I would still sit there and be like, there is still a chance. And especially if, because again, we don't know if she had been made aware of kind of thoughts. Like, I think what would be more impressive is if she had no idea she was even a target last round, if she had no idea that Kenzie had come up to, or anyone had come up with that, to there, I think that's definitely kudos to everyone's social game. But I still would have sat there and been like, everyone knows I have an idol. Like,
Yeah.
I've got to be worried. But can we just talk about that tribal? Because it was very interesting. There was so much calm, but there was also one moment that I noticed, and it was very much like thing. It was when Q was talking again. I'm definitely if everyone's clocked by this point, I'm not the biggest Q fan. So sorry about it. Clearly, big mistake. But well,
big mistake.
Big mistake. I mean, I have not been a fan of Q for several episodes. There we go, getting the Zelensky quote in there.
Yeah.
But Q said, I put a plan out there.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I sat there, if I was Maria, I'd have been looking at Q like, excuse you? Excuse you?
Yeah. I was listening to that and I was like, what plan did he put out there? Like, what's going on?
Exactly. And I think that was him trying to take credit.
For Tiffany.
And again, I think it's one of those things that socially, I would have been sat there and like, I understand it was kind of the mirage of it all, like trying to act like it wasn't Maria's plan.
Yeah.
But I think if Q gets to the end, Maria goes to the jury, hypothetically speaking. If he then tries and takes credit for that, Maria will sit there and be like, no. Mm-mm. So I feel like this is where I'm very much worried for kind of Q socially. Because if he's going to make those grand kind of accusations, which we've seen him do at Tribal, that is really going to hurt him moving forward, more so than he has. But yeah, if you were kind of Maria in that situation and you heard him trying to like beef up that it was his thing, how would you have felt?
I think I would have been so confused because like, how would he think that was his plan at all? You know, like he's just laying on the beach, not talking to anyone. Like, no, I probably would have been annoyed that he's trying to take credit for something that I'm trying to do. Which
Agreed.
We see a lot happening this season too.
Funny enough, yeah. He likes to do that a lot. We have Frank in the chat saying, Tiff had to play, I'd Alicia to have stayed. If Liz voted Q, would have been 4-4 and revote would eliminate an idol holder like Hunter. I agree.
Yeah.
But again, I think I don't think it would have tied. Do you think if Liz stood there and said, no, I'm voting Q, do you think they still would have gone for a 4-4 tie?
You know, I don't think I think it would have tied. I don't think they would have known that. I don't think Liz would have told them what she was going to do. So I think, right, it still would have been a tie if she didn't say anything.
Yeah, if she still voted Q, it would have been a 4-4 tie. But I think
she wouldn't have said anything and just went in there and voted, and it would have just came out a tie if that was possible.
Yeah, but would that be kind of to spook Charlie, Maria, and Ben? Because that's the thing. Because Maria kind of mentioned that it was like all hanging on Liz, and if Liz really wasn't on board with it, were they gonna kind of just then she's not on board, it's gonna 4-4 tie, not risking like would they have been worried about rocks?
I feel like it would have been worth the risk because I feel like if it tied and went to a revote, I think everyone would have voted Tiffany. I think it would have been a good time to get her out. And I don't know. I don't think it would have gone to rocks.
No, I don't think it would have gone to rocks. I think we would have still seen kind of obviously Kenzie's reactions, which I thought were absolutely gold. I loved her reactions. But then I think she probably would have realised, she would have kind of looked at Maria and Charlie going, are you guys going for Tiff? Then gone for Tiff. But then I feel like that would actually cause a lot more annoyance than with what's happened.
Yeah.
I think because then it's kind of like Kenzie's had to rush into this plan and then kind of been blindsided and then still had to vote Tiffany out and be more jumbled.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been good for Kenzie.
I agree. But luckily, unfortunately, no, it didn't happen. And unfortunately, her and Venus were left in the minority. When it comes to them two, who do you think both of them are kind of feeling in danger now? Or do you think both of them have avenues? I mean, we've kind of talked about Kenzie's kind of avenues that she can go to, but what about Venus? I mean, we've seen Venus not be included in something and kind of be at the bottom and have a very big reaction to it. I mean, we saw her earlier in the season kind of talk about, she did mention her and Maria's disagreements. So do we think that
I think she'll be mad about it. Yeah. And I don't understand, like, why. I feel like if they came to her and said, we're going Tiffany, I feel like she would have done it. You know? I don't know. Like, what else does she really have?
Exactly. If it, like, Venus has really been digging deep since merge. Like, she's really had to kind of survive. She hasn't been able to kind of, like, thrive in that sense. Like unlike Charlie and Maria, who've been able to kind of thrive this merge, she has had to kind of survive the first few votes. And I think including her in this and been like, hey, we want to include you, but the fact that they don't want to include her and are just worried about her doing something wildcard, do you think that speaks to Venus's game in a negative way, that it could, she kind of could be in the minority now moving forward, possibly?
Yeah, she really isn't in, like, the best spot. I feel like nothing has changed for her this whole time. She's still just in that same spot. No one wants to work with her. No one trusts her. But I think it's interesting that Maria was more willing to work with Q instead of Venus. Which I feel like Q was way more risky than working with Venus. Because I think Q, okay, so Maria going to Q and being like, Tiffany is the vote. Q could have gone to Tiffany and been like, they're trying to blindside you, play your idol.
Yeah.
And maybe Tiffany would have trusted him, and then they could have came back together. That could have been a big moment for him, potentially.
Potentially, but again, I feel like the thing with Q is
he's too far gone.
Actions speak louder than words with Q. Q says a lot, but a lot of what he says means nothing.
Yeah.
Because again, he very much said he wanted to pick these people for the reward, to rekindle stuff, to rebuild the family. And then in his voting confessional, Yanu no more.
Yeah.
And I was like, again, it's another faux pas from my end personally, seeing it and going, you've kind of contradicted yourself. So that's where I'm like,
What do you think in that scenario, if he did tell Tiffany, what do you think would have happened?
Oh, Q would have gone. Q
okay, be gone. Wait, actually, that's true. I forgot about that.
Q be gone.
He would have been gone.
Because do you know
or do you think they would have tried to get Maria?
Possibly, but also I feel like Tiffany would have been that petty. Tiffany, like, I appreciate Tiffany because, like, she's on my level of pettiness. Tiffany would have gone to Maria and been like, Q's just spilled the beans. Q's just told me that you lot are all trying to rally against me. Just so you know, I'm using Idolicia. I'm voting for Q. If you guys want to, protect yourselves, vote Q.
Okay, that's true.
I feel like Maria, I feel like Tiffany would have done that because we saw last episode there was like 3 rounds of Tiffany versus Q. So I think Tribal would have been a lot spicier because Tiffany would not have held back. She would have been like, I'm playing my idol. He screwed you all over. And it would have just been spicy.
It would have been good drama.
It would have been such good drama. But alas, Tiffany went.
I really did not expect her. I really expected her to go to the end. I did not expect her to go out this early.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, we're saying that at final 8.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought she was going to go further.
I think all of us thought she was going to go further. I mean, we know Tegwyth did. She was Tegwyth's winner pick. I forget if she was someone else's. I feel like she was someone else's.
She was. I looked at the post of who picked her, and there was 2 people.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and pull it up quickly and see who it was.
My brain goes to Phil, Possibly Phil, maybe.
Jack.
It was Jack. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So who's still got winner picks left in?
Abraham.
Ben?
Yes. And Will has Q. You have Kenzie, and Matthew also has Q. So there's 4 of you still with winner picks.
And Kenzie, Ben, and Q. Who do you think has? Do you know what? I'm asking you this because you obviously were first out. So sorry. All right, picture landscape. Who do you think has the best shot out of those 3?
Well, my new winner pick since Jelinski has gone is Ben, so I have to stick with Ben. Even though we haven't seen too much of him.
No, we this is the thing with Ben. We've kind of seen like parts, but I feel like the big thing with Ben is we haven't seen like something that Ben can call his own.
Yeah,
and
he hasn't really done much.
No, like, and in this kind of new era, resume is such a big thing, and it's like you have to be able to claim this big move. And I feel like with Ben is playing a really good subtle game. This is why I relate to Ben. I love a subtle game. I preach about this so many times. It's why I liked Ferris from Titans versus Rebels.
Yeah.
Such a masterful, subtle game. Like, he proved you can play this subtle game and it be really strong. And I feel like that's what I'm seeing with Ben. He's kind of playing this really low-key, subtle game where he's really good at making connections. And I think apart from Tim, he has always been on the right side of the vote, I believe. I think.
Oh.
I'm now going to go double check this.
But I think he's doing great socially, like integrating back in after that Tim vote when he like that was like the one time where someone close to him really went. And for him just to be like, you know what, we still got to play the game. And I don't know. I love Ben. I think he's great. I hope he wins.
Yeah. I can confirm, it was only the Tim vote because he technically didn't vote in the Gem vote, so he had no say in that matter.
And I guess he knew it was going to be Tim, so it's not like he was left out. He didn't want to vote Tim.
Yeah. You know? That's the thing. He was told it was Tim. And obviously he was just like heroing it up, and Q was like, big mistake. But yeah, no, he has been on the right side of the vote. He was the right side of the vote for Tevin, for Hunter, and now Tiffany and Mariah. So, and I think next episode, I think he is going to be in more of them. I think he's going to be the person that is in the middle.
Yeah.
Because I think if you've got Kenzie and Venus definitely on one side, I think Liz can easily go over there. And I think with their mutual, like, add Ben and that mutual bond, that's a 4. So I do think Ben is in a very good spot. Do I think he's like the big best right now? No.
Do you think he could be in trouble and potentially go next episode?
I don't think so. I think for me, I'll hold that off because there's a couple of questions for Social Hour I want to ask. So we'll leave that for now. Is there anything else you want to mention or talk about?
I feel like, not that I can think of. I feel like we covered a lot. I mean, the Liz thing was just like huge. I feel like we can't talk about talking about that. We can't even talk about it enough. You know, that was just huge. And I don't know, Liz is really has gotten a few big episodes. So I feel like she's a big part of the show now. You know, she's a big part of the season when I feel like no one thought she would be.
Yeah, I think she wasn't she the last? No, she wasn't the last player picked. No, Tim was the last player picked. She was the second to last player picked, I believe. So she is proving us wrong.
Yeah. And do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, I'm trying to think of this particular episode. No. Not that I can think of. I mean, this is where we get into social hour and I just remember a bunch of things. But no,
Yeah.
I
Oh, and
don't
Kenzie's
think so.
hair going on fire. I just remember that.
Oh, bless her. But Kenzie's hair, like Kenzie, and just you can tell she works in a salon. Like
Yeah.
she has come into each tribal. She has always had something different each tribal. And
Hmm.
being the son of a hairdresser, I will appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like, I will appreciate the bun. I will appreciate the palm front. I will appreciate the buns with this episode's
Hmm.
twigs. Oh, one thing I remembered actually, Hunter. Now, did you notice what he was wearing?
His glasses.
No.
Oh.
His top.
The idol.
No,
I
his
don't know.
top. It is the exact same top as his promo look.
Oh.
I looked at it and I
That's
was like,
interesting.
yeah. When I was watching it the second time, I was like, why do I know that top? And then it clicked in my head and I had to double check and go back and I was like, that's his top from the promo.
I was stuck on the glasses.
Yeah, I know. I mean, were they all wearing? I mean, Tevin was wearing glasses last episode, and that was a serve. It was funny. I was watching the jury, and I was waiting for some reactions. I feel like we had some really good reactions from Tevin and Soda last episode, so I was kind of wanting to see some reactions. We didn't really get it this episode.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Soda turn to Tevin and be like, she had an idol, and I feel like she didn't even react to it.
Tevin was like, "Girl, we done known."
Yeah.
But I feel like either way, this jury is stacking up.
Mm.
This is like you got some heavy hitters.
Do you think they're going to be bitter?
I want to say no.
They're going to like respect the game.
I think they are, because I think you have someone like Soda, who I always saw as someone who was like respectful no matter what. She was always going to respect the final three. Because you even saw it like when she got voted out, she gave Venus a massive hug. And I think that set the tone of, okay, yes, they are still going to feel their emotions and they're gonna hold the final three accountable, but it's gonna be respectful regardless. And I feel like that's what I see for them.
Yeah. That'll be, yeah. I think it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, we've still got time. We've still got time. If Q makes it to the end, maybe not. Maybe there might be some hostility, but it all depends on who makes it to the end.
Definitely.
Yeah. But shall we take a quick break, and then we will be back for the social hour. Just a reminder, guys, if you have any questions, put them in the live chat right now and we will answer them. We've got a couple, but we can always do with some more. But we are going to take a minute break and we're going to hear what Bracketology have to say.
My name is Jonah Fielko, and I'm the CEO of Bracketology.tv, fantasy sports for reality television. We offer fantasy games for shows like The Bachelor, Survivor, Big Brother, RuPaul's Drag Race, and counting. You start by creating a community. Within your community, you can create a fantasy league for each show that you want to play fantasy games for. Within the league, you can choose up to 3 of our 4 game types, and our most popular is the Advanced League. Choose a team of contestants, and depending on what they do and say during the episode, that's how your team will gain or lose points each week. We also have elimination-style games like our Confidence Pool. This is where you choose how confident you are that each contestant will survive elimination that week. And we've also got March Madness-style brackets. Come back a couple hours after the episode to check your scores and watch you climb the leaderboard. Bracketology is free to play, so grab your friends, your family, your coworkers, and head to Bracketology.tv for more info.
And we are back. I mean, I will say the Bracketology, I'm not doing so well on it. I know I do the recaps and I know I do the predictions. I just keep picking one person. It's whoever I just pick this one person and I'm like, why did I pick them? Like, I don't know what goes on. I will say though, the last 3 times, 'cause my one didn't get shown this week, sad times. But the last 3 times, every person I picked for who you should have on your main pick did win immunity.
Oh.
I did Kenzie, then Hunter, then Charlie.
Okay. So
I managed it.
you have a good read on things.
Clearly, but it's just the other thing. But right, shall we get into the next segment, which I believe is our social hour. So, Cara, do you want to take it away with what goes on this time?
Yeah. So, well, let's start with questions. If questions that were sent in to us, if we have any, or if people want to send them in now, we'll get to them as well, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, perfect. So I did get a couple. I've got a couple here. So the first one that I got was, who do you think is in danger next episode? That's why I didn't want to kind of go into it, because I had this question.
Okay.
One of you we had. So who do you think?
I think Maria. But okay, I think Maria, but also I feel like it could totally just be flipped off her, like, or switched off her onto someone else. I feel like that happens frequently. I mean, what if it's Liz, you know? I don't know.
I think there's 2, maybe 3 scenarios, and I think Rob Sestranito kind of like put it in a post, and I was like, same brain. I think there's 3 scenarios. I think Charlie, because of the 2 immunity wins, he really could be seen as a physical threat. I think if he wins immunity, potentially they go for Maria, because, you know, she made the big move and she kind of is showing her cards a bit more. And I think, especially if she tries to save Q, I think that really is going to put alarm bells in people. And then obviously I'm always going to say Q, just because I feel like, to me, Q is very much the red herring of this season. And he's kind of almost like the trophy boot. Like,
yeah,
as soon as everyone agrees, he's gone. And it's kind of like, no one's really, I think whenever Q does go, if he does, no one's going to be able to claim it. Because it's just going to be a unanimous, let's just keep the peace.
Yeah. So, you know, the thing about Q, which I find interesting, like, he is so active on social media. I just can't see someone being so active like that and them not make it potentially to the end, you know? Like, I feel like he's doing a lot. He's going to all the watch parties. He's having his own watch parties. I don't know.
He is having big reactions at his watch parties. That was funny shade. So if anyone has seen Q social media, we will talk more about it on Got Something For You, but he definitely has a very big reaction to this tribal. So go check out his social media for his reactions, because someone did post it. No, I do kind of agree with that. I mean, I feel like because people have praised him for being such a big character.
Oh, he's like feeding into it now.
He's feeding into it now. I feel like he wasn't there to be a player. He was there to be a character. I feel like that's what I've kind of digested from the reaction and what he then gives out. I feel like that's very much, he's definitely trying to now be kind of a character.
Okay.
Which does move me on to my next question that I was given with, who from this season do you think could be considered for season 50? Because I mean, we've had, well, no, I was going to say we've had the announcement. I do want to say apart from Q.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie comes back. I feel like him, maybe Tiffany. I feel like there's so many people from this season that I could see playing again.
I definitely feel like there's a lot of kind of characters we could see come back. I mean, obviously, I want to root for my girl Tiffany. For Tiffany,
Zelensky.
Obviously, Zelensky. Do you know what? As soon as they do something that requires pre-mergers, it has to be Zelensky. I want to say Kenzie, just because I will root for my girl 24/7. Kind of similar wavelength with the pre-merge things. Banu.
Do you think he would come back? Do you think they would ask him to come back?
I definitely think Jeff would ask, because I mean, I think Jeff kind of even stated, like, Banu is that person, like, he was very receptive to Banu and kind of said to everyone, like, he is what we wanted. Like, we want to see that from people. And I was like, obviously, like, I think at first we were kind of sat there being like, you want to see that mess, Jeff? But then I understood after I kind of got out of that headspace, I went, okay, you want to see kind of the authenticity. You want to see people kind of go out there and share their stories. Like, Jeff has kind of started this thing of like, he wants to share these stories and kind of get people to relate. That's what I've really noticed with him. If there is a story, it's, I call it like for the British term, the X Factor effect. And it's like, have you had hardship? Have you had a traumatic time? Come on our show and we're going to show it to the world and make them like feel something towards you. And I almost feel like that's what he's trying to do. And that's what he did with Barney. So I kind of could see that him being a person that comes back.
Yeah.
I kind of want to follow up with that question of, is there anyone else from the new era that you would like to see come back? I know that there is a show going on Sunday, which you guys should tune into, where they're going to kind of pick people. There's a lot more factors. This is just who we may like to see come back, who we wouldn't mind seeing come back.
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many people. I would love to see Xander come back, and Ricard and Shan. Would love to see them, all three of them come back. Who else? Those are like the top three that like came to my mind. What about you? I'll keep thinking while you talk.
Ricard from 41. Ricard, similar to Kenzie, he was someone that came into the game and I just really gravitated towards, and I feel like he did such a great job. Like when I watched 41, like I was just rooting for Ricard, like hardcore. I was like, Ricard has to kill it. And to see him do that, I was really happy. Another person I'd like to see come back is Lauren Hart from 44. I feel like she had a really good hold on the game. And we didn't really, I feel like it was just the Tika free domination. No shade to them. Loved Jam. Loved like chatting to him earlier on in the season. But yeah, I'd love to kind of see like someone other than the Tika free and Matt and Franny from 44. And that Lauren would be who I pick.
That would be interesting if they would, like, instead of maybe bring like the main people back, like would they bring like someone else who wasn't maybe wasn't in the Tika 3? Do you think they would do that?
Again, I feel like if it was to be anyone, it'd probably be Franny. I feel like if they were going to pick someone outside of the Tika 3, it'd most likely be Franny. My brain like
Cody and Jesse. I would like to see them again.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Cody, Jesse. I wouldn't mind seeing Cassidy.
Oh yeah.
Do you know who I'd love to see? Janine from 43. I feel like I just want to see a redemption from her.
Yeah.
That's who I would love.
There's so many people. They need to do more than one. They need to do another season where they bring people back. It's been too long. We can't wait till season 50.
No. Well, this is actually, I've just thought about this. If they did do ignore 50, if they did a returnee season, what style returnee would you like them to do? What would you like to see?
Like which person I would like to see, or like a theme of it?
Theme.
Like a second chances, or like pre-jury, pre-merge. I would love to see like people come back and have that chance again. I wouldn't want to see all winners because they won.
Not yet.
I want someone that like, something like that where people really deserve a second chance. I would love a second chance.
Yeah. Do you know what I would love to see? And I feel like this is the Brit in me. Worlds collide. Have an international season.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Get some Australian players. Get some British players when I've played. Get some South African players, and
yeah. I would love to see players from Australian Survivor play with people from American Survivor. I would love that.
Because we've seen American players go over there.
Yeah.
And we've seen the Queen Nina. Our Queen Nina do very well. So I'd love to see the opposite side.
Do you think they would have to change the format of how Survivor is now to somehow change it for international players?
I feel like they would have to. There would have to be a format change,
Yeah.
especially if depending on who, like how many places they looked at. I feel like they would have to do a longer season. I
I
feel
feel
like
like
it
this
would
would be too
have.
easy.
Yeah, I feel like they'd have to
Mhm.
go for 20. They'd have to go at least back to 39 days or somewhere in the 30s,
Mm-hmm.
and then just like make it something. But yeah,
Yeah,
should
I
we
would
move on to?
love that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
sorry.
next question.
Next question. The next one I have. I had another one, and I had it whilst we were talking, and my brain has completely forgot it. But if I remember it during this, fabulous. But this next one is: which 3 people would you have taken on the reward?
Ooh, that's a
Going back,
good
going back to actually
question.
the season. What 3 people? Who would you have taken on that reward? Which 3
Ooh.
people?
Like, do I have to think strategically about it, or could I just pick who I think would
This is
be who I would just would
this is
want to
the
go?
no. This is the 3 people you'd want to pick.
Okay, I would want to go with Ben, Charlie, and I guess Liz. I would take Liz.
Take Liz, of course. I would have taken Liz just because I feel like the human part of me would have been like, I feel like this is a human element, and we just say take the gameplay out of it. I feel like this will be good for you.
Yeah.
You need the nourishment. Let's take that out. Obviously, I take Kenzie for a good old gossip.
True.
And I feel like I'd take Ben strategically to get him closer on my side. I feel like those would be my 3 picks. I'd want to kind of I feel like at that point, I'd need Ben to be closer. So I'd want to take Ben, Liz, Kenzie, and Ben. Those would be my picks.
It's good. Good 3.
I can't remember that last question I had. And it like, you know when a question pops into your head and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is where we'll end the stream and I'll remember it.
I just thought of something too we didn't talk about, jumping like completely back.
Go for it.
We didn't talk about, again, how Jeff was trying to negotiate with them with the rice.
Yes. And actually, we can ask, no, do you know what? We'll ask this question now. Would you have stepped forward for your own portion of rice?
Probably not.
Fair.
I feel like I would have, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I would have been able to make it far in that challenge at all. So maybe I should have stepped out. I should step out for the rice, but I feel like I would have wanted to try the challenge.
Again, same, like I am a competitor. I want to at least try it. But I appreciate that Jeff gave them that option because I think that was fair. Yeah. Was it slightly for Liz? Maybe. Who knows? But I feel like that was kind to do. And again, I feel like it was that thing of like we saw Liz have this really strong reaction, and I think she spelled it out like, if you lot, I need to eat more. I have allergies.
Yeah.
So I feel like I wouldn't have judged Liz at all. I would have been like, no, Liz, you do that. If you're not doing it, part of me would have been like, okay, I'm stepping forward. This is yours, Liz. Now go compete in the challenge.
I'm glad she got her little jar of rice. I think that was nice that they did that. But also, what is with this negotiating? It's not negotiating at all. That's not how negotiations work, Jeff. Like,
yeah. No, I completely agree. Like when he was like, "No, it's still 4 people," I'd have been like, "Jeffrey, like, no, why you said like this is?" I was sat there and I was like, "It's not a negotiation."
No, and then when they tried it last time, he was like, "No, it's this or 2 people don't get a vote."
Yeah,
like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, the only thing I think Jeff kind of figured out he was like, this is not going to happen again. I'm assuming I can kind of tell like you were all looking at me like, Jeff, stop it. And I was like, good social awareness, Jeffrey. you are my social buff.
You're catching on.
He's catching on. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have. But do you know what? Jeffrey Probes. Go grab the knife for next season. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
If you want people to negotiate for that rice, I think the knife is important.
Mm-hmm. I thought he was going to get it when he went to go get the jar. I was like, oh, maybe he's bringing the knife out. But no knife this time.
No. Right. Shall we move on? Because I do believe it is time for Cara's Sweet Thing. So this, I believe, I mean, you go ahead. This is your thing.
Okay, so every episode I do my sweet thing of the week. I have another podcast with my cousin Kateri, and at the end of that, we give our sweet thing of the week, and it's like a treat or food or drink or whatever. But for this, we don't often have a lot of food to go off of. But this episode we did. So my sweet thing this week is Applebee's. After that episode, I want to go to Applebee's. Like I was convinced. Yes.
Can I join you?
Yes.
That big was it the Shark Tank? What was it called? The
yeah, the Shark Bowl.
The Shark Bowl, yeah. I'm not really a drinker, but I feel like at that point I would have had no issues with it. I'd have been sat there like, yep, go for it.
Take the whole thing.
Whole thing.
I see Applebee's in my future, for sure.
We're gonna see an Instagram post of you at some point this week before the next episode at Applebee's.
I'll take a selfie like Liz did with the Applebee's sign in the background.
Love it. Okay, and I believe we're going to move on to our final thing, which is the social butterfly. So again, Cara, take it away.
Okay, so as you all know, every week we give our social butterfly of the episode, and this week I'm going with. I was back and forth on two people, but I have to go with Maria. I think this episode for her, she just did so well, getting Q on her side to do what she wanted. She even got Liz to vote Tiffany and not vote Q after we see Liz be so mad at Q. And even Ben was like, I hate Q, like I want him to go. And even still, he went with the Tiffany vote. So I think it was all Maria.
Yeah. I'm interested to know, who was your other person?
I was gonna say Liz.
I thought it was. I am gonna have to agree with you and say that my social butterfly this week was Maria. I think even though I'm not sure it's gonna benefit her moving forward, this episode, when I look at this episode, I have to give it to like Maria. Yeah. Like she was really able to kind of pivot things into the direction she wanted, and she was able to do what she wanted to do, and she kind of can take credit for that. So well done. We do have Frank in the comments. Frank has a social butterfly, and it is Liz. I'm intrigued to know, Frank, your reasons why. But we will appreciate all of them here. But I think that wraps things up. So I'm going to leave it to you, Cara, to kind of take us.
Yes. Well, thank you, Ollie, for joining me on Survivor Social this week. This was so much fun getting to chat with you and getting to hear your thoughts. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in and chatting with us in the comments. And this is such a great episode. So, Ollie, where can people find you?
Well, they can find me on Got Something For You on Saturdays, but also just my Instagram handle was there. Don't ask me what my X handle is. I cannot remember for the life of me. But yeah, I will post a lot of Instagram posts, reels on there, so you can check me out there. And yeah, just got something for you, really.
Yeah. So Stock Watch we have is on Friday at 2 p.m. And of course, Got Something For You is on Saturday at 3. And remember just to like and subscribe Survivor Now on YouTube and Spotify. And we'll see you next week. Stay social.
Well, hold on. Before we go, we got to remember Sunday.
Oh, that's right.
Sunday.
That's right.
So on Sunday, guys, don't miss it. We have got a little preview where Randy and a couple of other people, I think Abe's going to be there. They are going to be talking all things Survivor 50. And giving their picks on who we could see potentially being in the cast. So keep on that. We have got everything going on until Sunday.
Yeah, that's going to be so good. Everyone tune in for that. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a great episode. So yes, so we'll see you next week here on Survivor Social. Stay social. Have a good night.
Stay social.